dollar. Dirt and money, no soul. Had to go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack of flip for my foes. Dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar. Let me watch out for my partners. Keep my money long, get my team strong. Let me run away from my problems.
Yep, let's get original crew, man. We're back. We got a Miss Mojo today. 10 most chilling moments in cold case Who JonBene Ramsey. So I've been watching the docu on Netflix. It's been taking me a couple of days just to get it through episode 1. Finally on episode 2 now, and it's a lot of information just from episode 1.
Mm-hmm. How long are the episodes?
An hour. Ain't that long, but every time I come across another detail, I have to tell you about it.
Yeah, that's the only, y'all. I feel like I'm watching it. I'm not watching it, but just because he watching it, I feel like I know everything.
I'm like, see, this, she was like, what? And then we go, we elaborate on that. And then I go back to watching it, and I'm like, see? I'm like, bro, like, come on now. This, such a mishandled case from the beginning.
But I do feel like I know a lot. Because I've heard, like, it's not my first time. And then from you telling me so many details, just overhearing you watching it.
But this is the time I've heard this amount of details.
The amount, I guess, yeah.
So,
but let's see. Man. Let's see what they got.
It was a very mishandled case.
Very much so.
And I think I'll say this, I do feel like it could have been solved if it was handled correctly from the beginning.
Yeah.
I think they would have an answer, but with so much...
With so many things mishandled and...
just didn't take the correct precautions when they're dealing with a case like this.
You lost so many key pieces.
Well,
okay, let's go.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, let's go. Let's get into it.
But hey, make sure y'all check out the links in the description box.
Down below.
You already know where to go. If you want the first part, all you gotta do is check out down below. Also, if you enjoyed today's visuals,
like it with a thumbs up.
But let's hop into it, y'all. Let's check it out. Let's see what's about. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let go.
It was the morning after Christmas, 5:52 a.m., when her mother called 911 saying her little girl had been kidnapped out of her bed and a ransom note left in the house.
Welcome to Ms. Mojo. And today we're breaking down the moments from the Netflix true crime docuseries Cold Case, Who Killed JonBene Ramsey, that will send chills down your spine. Out of respect for those involved, this video is unranked. Due to the extremely dark and sensitive nature of the Ramsey case, viewer discretion is strongly advised.
Was there an intruder? Or was the family involved?
I did not kill my daughter, JonBene.
The day of, in the Ramseys' own words.
Do you mind taking us through the day, just the timeline?
Well, it's hard, but we were planning to leave early that morning. That was the day after Christmas. We'd had a big Christmas at home. And
we'll avoid getting into the hard-to-stomach details of exactly what happened to 6-year-old JonBene Ramsey. There is plenty of information out there about that, including at the beginning of director Joe Berlinger's Cold Case mini docuseries. For the uninitiated, a brief recap. Ramsey, born in 1990 to parents John and Patsy, was found lifeless by her father on December 26, 1996.
I'm at 15th Street. What's going on there, ma'am? We have a kidnapping. Hurry, please. Explain to me what's going on, okay?
The subsequent media frenzy saw the two named as key suspects in JonBene's death. The opening scene of Who Killed JonBene Ramsey finds John Ramsey recounting the day they discovered JonBene's body with input from archival footage of the late Patsy Ramsey. It's still gut-wrenching to watch John discuss that day, as he's had to do many times before.
if you have kids and you've been in a shopping mall and your child disappears, even for a moment, you get this punch in the stomach that's just severe. Where's my child? Just panic for a moment. Then you find her and it's over, but it only lasts for a second. But this horrible in your gut trauma, I guess.
The ransom note.
We had a spiral staircase to the first floor, and I just started downstairs to get coffee on or whatever. As I, moved toward the end of the stair, there were these pieces of paper lying on one of the runs of the stair.
Patsy, narrating via interviews filmed prior to her 2006 death from ovarian cancer, recounts what's almost definitely the most baffling part of a famously baffling case. Many people, armchair internet sleuths and forensic experts alike, have struggled to find a reasonable explanation as to who wrote the ransom note found at the Ramsey family's house.
We have your daughter, and it clicked, your daughter. And I just bounded back up the steps and threw her door open, and she was not in her bed.
Even more have difficulty grasping the why of it all. Several questions are raised by the letter. For example, why did the note specify a sum of $118,000 in exchange for JonBene's safe return? What foreign faction did the author claim to represent? And why was what appeared to be an early draft of the note found on Patsy Ramsey's personal notepad?
Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully.
We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction.
We respect your business, but not the country that it serves.
At this time, we have your daughter in our possession.
She is safe and unharmed, and if you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter.
The autopsy report.
And once you find out, the details of what actually happened to her, the ransom note doesn't make sense at all. Right?
Yeah, nothing makes sense to me, but yeah. True.
Because,
and I don't want to tell too much for people.
Because the ransom note said we found her.
We have her.
We have her safe
She's
and
safe and unharmed. Yeah.
But when we found her, she was bound, taped, and tortured.
Yeah.
Had been tortured. I'm not telling details because the details are very graphic.
But I'm saying for some people, they can be very. But anyway, but yeah.
So the ransom notes did make sense. And then when you go and when you see the notepad that was her notepad, and then you saw the mom's notepad, because it was two notepads turned over, notepad from the mom and a notepad from the dad. And the mom's notepad, within the sheets, there was a draft of the ransom note, and then that ransom note said Mr. Ramsey. And the other one, it said Mr. and Mrs., and it would look like they were finna say Ramsey, and they had the stroke of the R, but decided not to say Mr. and Mrs. Ramsey. But also, if I'm writing a ransom note to the family, I'm going to target both the mom and dad, not just the dad. I'm not going to be Mr. Ramsey. Mr. and Mrs. Ramsey, we have your daughter. Because I want to make sure let both of y'all know.
But also, and like they pointed out with the amount, it's just so odd. $118,000 is such a odd number.
That was one of the first red flags. I said, 118, such an odd and then after the cop said it was too low, I said, is that low for a ransom? I said, maybe so, 118, because typically with a ransom, he said you will hear $250,000, $500,000, absurd number that it's dang, you want that much money? And then hear how much his company was worth.
Right.
I'm like, he probably does have access to that amount of money.
Yeah.
So I would have asked him for more, because he was into tech, and tech at that time. It's more valuable now than it was then, but say, for instance, at that time, and if he was able to keep everything going, he's a billionaire or multi-millionaire, close to a billionaire. You know what I'm saying? Because he was company already worth $1 million then.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's a lot of red flags all over the case.
The handle of that was taken off and secured at the end of this garrote.
There was some complexity as to how the garrote was put together. This knot was tied by somebody who understood how a garrote is made.
Veteran Denver journalist Carol McKinley, who covered the JonBene Ramsey case as it happened and is interviewed in Cold Case, makes a compelling argument to those interested in reading more about it. That would be, quote, anybody interested in the Ramsey case needs to read the cause of death in the autopsy report. She calls the document, quote, critical.
We believe JonBene was alive when this was being done because she had hair tangled in this knot.
Although this segment of the series gets into more detail than we need to get into, one thing that's important to point out, the report revealed that the crime scene contained a broken paintbrush that came from Patsy Ramsey's home studio. The seemingly unanswerable questions persist here, this time focusing on exactly what methods were used to tragically end JonBene's life.
Well, when they got her to the autopsy table and opened up, her brain, they realized she'd been hit over the head.
The beauty pageants.
For TV and tabloids and everybody to tell the story, you need pictures.
And the Ramsey case became immediate fodder because JonBene Ramsey was in child beauty pageants.
As we pointed out, the sordid saga of JonBene Ramsey's death was seized upon by the contemporary news media. This was, as you can probably guess, the unfathomably painful, unthinkably grotesque nature of the case, and particularly the fact that JonBene had met her end in such a way. As pointed out by investigative reporter Paula Woodward, the abundance of photos and videos of JonBene turned the situation into, as she puts it, quote, immediate fodder for the media. The judgment passed down by the court of public opinion was swift and harsh. JonBene's participation in the pageants was deemed too inappropriate and too adult for her age, and that her parents had forced her into participating.
There was a very professional, almost adult, and frankly somewhat sexual look to them.
Why won't John and Patsy cooperate with the police?
I saw it in John's eyes. I knew he was the killer. It's crazy. And, but that's how I got started.
I knew what happened.
Another aspect that complicated the public's opinion about the Ramseys, their decision to immediately bite their tongues and lawyer up, instead of cooperating with the ongoing Boulder Police Department investigation into who had taken JonBene's life. And maybe it's hard to blame them. After all, the police were harshly criticized for their perceived mishandling of the initial crime scene investigation, which led to the contamination of possible mountains of forensic evidence that might have helped to solve the case.
The father, John Ramsey, has hired a well-known criminal lawyer, and a Denver newspaper reports he will not talk to police.
They hired lawyers immediately. And that just seemed weird.
However, John claims that an ominous phone call placed to him by one of his employees was what set him down this path. In the call, the unnamed employee warned John that the police considered him and Patsy to be their leading suspects.
So I answered the phone, and it was one of our employees. He said, I was told by someone inside the system to get this message to you. They believe you killed your daughter, and you need to get the best defense attorney you can get your hands on.
A lack of footprint.
How, let's be honest, how would your employee get this information, unless it's, I don't know the town. The town could be a very, very small town where things get around and I got a cousin at work, they looking into you, but I'm an employee.
Yeah.
What level of an employee am I? Am I right underneath you? Maybe I would tell you. You know what I'm saying? But if I'm like at the bottom totem pole, you know what I'm saying? Like it, and then you won't tell people what employee was that gave you that information. And I guess it's because, hey, if I tell him, then whoever he got the information from, they could possibly. Get it. So I get that.
I don't know. Like with that, I'm not sure. Like.
But it's very weird. It's still very weird when the police is investigating y'all a situation that involves y'all child, and y'all refusing to speak to them at all. Now I understand lawyering up, and I'll still meet with you, and every question you ask of me, I'll run it past my lawyer. My lawyer has to be in on the conversation with me to make sure y'all are not trying to, yeah, cool.
But I guess like cutting all communication is.
But I still want to work with y'all because
I want to know what happened to my daughter.
Because they found the daughter the same, because she didn't say it, but they found the daughter the same day. Same day, some hours later, you get the phone call that your daughter is reported missing at 5:52 a.m. That night, we found the father. He found and then because you said the detective that was in the house told y'all to look around the house, and the first place you go look is in the basement. Weird. And immediately after that, a couple days later, you lawyer up. I ain't saying it's screaming a little, but it's a little sus. It's a little, but at the end of the day, it was. I still even on the detective, you have to blame the detective because it's a missing persons case, right? Mm-hmm. We don't know. It's a criminal case. We're at the house. We keep an eye on them. We don't allow them to separate from us to go search the house. You never tell anyone that's not a part of the police department, to go search the house. Mm-hmm. Like, we got to throw some responsibility of this case not being solved on the law.
Yeah.
There was a narrative that started by the Boulder Police Department that it was done by somebody inside of the home because there was a lack of footwear impressions in the snow.
No footprints in the snow, therefore no intruder. Well, there was a reason why there was no footprints in the snow. There was no snow.
One misconception that the documentary attempts to untangle is the lack of footprints leading up to the basement window. One major theory to explain JonBene's death is that a purported, quote, foreign intruder might have broken into the Ramsey home through a smashed window, based on debris later examined at the scene of the crime.
There's a slight dusting that you can see on the front end of the house. But if you look at the back side of the home, there's no snow.
The police fed a lot of information that they wanted out there to a guy named Charlie Brennan.
However, skeptics point out that since it was wintertime, how could the perpetrator's footprints not have been identified? Journalist Michael Tracy fires back by saying that hardly any snow had fallen the night before, which would not have been conducive to making prints. This led to wild, seemingly baseless speculation, which Cold Case links to subsequent false narratives in the media.
I was given information by a source I trusted that police took note of the fact when they got there that they didn't see footprints in the snow, and they considered that to be significant. Is that Charlie Brennan saying that that's significant? No.
Did Patsy do it?
So,
okay, well that's new to me.
Also, the window being smashed out, well, technically still, there's no necessarily, because you got to look at it like this. There is no snow on the outside, so, because I was like, you can tell how a window was busted out, whether it's from the inside or the outside, depending on how the glass falls. Mm. And you can look at the cracks of it as well to see, was it smashed from the inside or the outside? That's possible, right? Mm. But I'm like, 5:52 a.m. I know the dad said he was in the bathroom. The mom went down. The dad could have, I don't know who, somebody in the house could have went outside and smashed the window and came back in, if it's somebody within the home. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or they could have smashed it from the inside to make it appear as though somebody broke into the house.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
The other major theory as to what happened to JonBene Ramsey?
At what point in time did you say, I think Patsy Ramsey killed her daughter?
There was not a defining moment in which the bell rang, and I noted the date and time. Early in 1997, it became more and more apparent to me.
The Cold Case docuseries notably explores the possibility that Patsy Ramsey was responsible for her daughter's death. While that may be impossible to wrap your head around, Detective Steve Thomas, who the documentary paints as a staunch believer in the Ramseys' guilt, proposes that Patsy, in a fit of rage caused by JonBene's bedwetting issues, lost control of herself.
In my hypothesis, an approaching 40th birthday, the busy holiday season, an exhausting Christmas day, and an argument with JonBene had left Patsy frazzled. Patsy would not be the first mother to lose control in such a situation. One of the doctors we consulted cited toileting issues as a textbook example of causing a parental rage.
Thomas further suggested that Patsy, having accidentally taken her daughter's life, panicked and staged a kidnapping based on her imagination. However, this is directly disputed by retired detective Bob Whitson, who notes that the circumstances hypothesized by Thomas contradict several real-life elements of the crime scene.
So if you believe that Patsy Ramsey did this, she would have had to do all these things while JonBene was alive. This wasn't staging. She was alive when this was being done.
Enter Lou Smit.
Lou is one of those.
Well.
Oh, what?
Well, let's not act like things like this hasn't happened, because you had told me about a situation where a father had no, we had seen that, right, where the father had abused this child because of bedwetting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he had killed the child because he overbeat the child for using the bathroom. But you had told me about the situation where the father threw the child against the wall because he was raging on playing a video game. But parents, out of rage, can take things out on kids.
Yeah.
I've myself have seen it firsthand. What we'll call child abuse because of a bedwetting issue. Mm-hmm. Instead of trying to figure out why the bedwetting is, I'm tired of you. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We don't know. Could it have been going on for years, and they were tired of it, and it just kept going stream from just a regular whooping until now beatings, being bound, because that's what she was. She was bound with her hands, and let's not act like things like that don't happen where it looks like torture.
Yeah.
And maybe screaming because she had duct tape around her mouth, so she could have been duct taped to keep quiet because of the screaming, whatever they did. So we don't know.
Just the details of the case in my head.
I haven't got to that part though. My bad. And watching the series, I haven't got to those details. But go, my bad.
But just the details in the case from what I've overheard from you watching and stuff like that, just like how she was found and like the autopsy and stuff like that, is very brutal. So I'm like, if the dad did it, evil. If the mom did it, evil. If somebody, like, it's just like so, like the way she was found and the things that I told you, I said I couldn't imagine like doing something like that to a child, anybody, period. But definitely your own child.
But like I said,
but I know it happens, and we hear like many cases, like so many people are in prison. Yeah,
like the girl in Kentucky that just pled guilty for killing both of her sons. We don't know why she killed both of her sons, but like we do know she shot both of them in the head.
So many cases like that where parents and guardians are doing things to their kids and stuff like that. So I know it happens, but I don't know. I just couldn't.
And just from the autopsy report, the things she went through and suffered, and how it came out very personable. Like, whoever did it had more of a personal connection with her than some random stranger doing it to her. And then another thing they didn't specify just yet is the living conditions within the house. I don't know. Like you said, it just, if I go in through the basement, it's basically 4 floors. You got the basement, first floor, second floor, third floor. The parents stayed on the third floor. But also, why you go for her out of everybody when you had an opportunity,
Yeah.
So that
those guys, he was a Sherlock Holmes of his time. And when he looked at this, I mean, obviously one of the first things you're going to do is look over the body.
Smit, a highly respected local detective, went on to become a major champion of the Ramsey family's innocence, long before it was deemed publicly acceptable to do so. A number of Smit's colleagues, interviewed for the film, attest to Smit's strong moral character, as well as his uncanny knack for dissecting well-worn crime scenes to find new clues and information.
Now, what I'd like to show you is what I think is one of the most important clues left behind by the killer. Stun gun.
Smit's efforts and research determined that a stun gun had been used to incapacitate JonBene, something that hadn't been clocked by earlier investigators. Even still, the detective was able to determine that JonBene had been pulled directly from her bed, and that her bed sheets were perfectly dry. The latter is implied to be a significant blow to the Ramsey family's detractors.
Boulder PD thought the stun gun marks to her face and back were created from laying on some train tracks. If anything, they've been doing nothing but dismissing the stun gun.
John and Patsy are revealed to have been indicted by a grand jury.
As I understand it, the grand jurors didn't know who might have done what, but felt that there was something that happened there.
The grand jury found John and Patsy Ramsey had intent to hinder, delay, and prevent their daughter's killer from being prosecuted.
What they believed was that the parents knew what had happened, or should have known what had happened, or should have got her help.
A 1998 grand jury convened.
Hold on, because I'm still taking back this about a stun gun situation. And so I'm going to listen to everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because now I have to finish the series. But the family, I wonder did the family continue to stay inside the home, even after luring up? And how long did it take for that detective to come in, and when did he find the stun gun?
When did he find it? And just because a stun gun is in the house and they say, "Oh, it's not," doesn't mean that it's not theirs. Like it could still, it could still be,
or it doesn't mean it wasn't planted after the fact.
But what I'm saying is, either way it goes, if it was planted after the fact by one of y'all, by the mom or the dad, it's still one of y'all. Like,
that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is because obviously he came in after the fact at some point and looked over
and
the
see
scene.
like, oh, this was left behind by,
But how long, and was the family still living there? And they have lawyered up and they're not communicating with the police. So are police presence there inside the home 24/7? 9 times out of 10, no, because we have a lawyer, and our lawyer probably automatically say, hey, if y'all want to come search, y'all have to have a warrant. And your warrant can only limit y'all for so much.
But we already know that from what you was watching, even after she was found, y'all got people like family over. Anybody, like y'all having like a whole little gathering.
Yeah.
Like, whatever it was for, just.
And everybody that was with them, around them, wouldn't talk to the police as well.
Right. And this was what, the day after? Or the day of? The day?
Right. It just said right after.
Just right after, she was found. They had family members over and people, people drinking and washing dishes and things are getting, like, people are all over the house. Things are getting contaminated.
Helping them clean.
You know what I'm saying? It's just so weird to me that that would even be allowed.
Yeah.
Like, my brain cannot wrap around the fact that this case was mishandled so poorly.
And I will contribute to the mishandling of the, is simply because of the community that they lived in. That's all you got to chunk it up to. The community y'all lived in. I guess everybody just appeared to be so innocent. So you're not even looking at a possibility of anything, until...
Well, if everybody innocent, then who... Everybody ain't innocent. Somebody did something.
Somebody did something. Yeah, true,
so, let's be real. Like, yeah.
What had happened, or should have got her help.
A 1998 grand jury, convened to consider bringing the Ramseys up on charges, eventually returned a true bill recommending to indict them. However, they wouldn't be charged with JonBene's death directly. Instead, they would stand accused of having been severely negligent and failing to remove their child from harm's way, which resulted in her death.
What the grand jury was telling us was they found there was probable cause for these people to be indicted. But there's a long, long step between probable cause, which is the lowest standard in the criminal justice system, and proof beyond a reasonable doubt, that is the highest.
Alex Hunter, the district attorney for Boulder County at the time, ultimately declined to press charges against John and Patsy. While members of the Boulder law enforcement community have openly voiced their disagreement with this decision, Hunter justified his actions by citing a lack of sufficient credible evidence.
It would have been easy to bring charges, but to have brought charges when you didn't feel you could make your case would have been a horrible thing to do.
True.
I feel
to some degree
at peace.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our...
True to some degree. That's like I always say, that's the reason why so many people get away with so many crimes, is because by the time we do want to press charges, do we have all the evidence that we need to make sure we can be able to convict them?
And in this case...
Or y'all decide to try at the wrong charge. Negligence is a possibility. But I don't know how you would push negligence.
I was about to say, how would you have pushed that?
I just said
I said I was about to say that before you said I don't know. But anyway, yeah,
it's a possibility though. I would have liked to hear why negligence was the option and why it appears to be negligent. You know.
Mm-hmm. Things and switch on notifications.
On the legal
story
aspect
of Daxis.
He started to email me on a regular basis, where he slowly started to say that he had killed JonBene.
Cold Case, Who Killed JonBene Ramsey, ends on a frustrating, heartbreaking note, devoid of any closure for both everyone involved and audiences at home. The aforementioned Michael Tracy reveals an ongoing virtual correspondence he shared with a man who only referred to himself as Daxis. Tracy claims that this Daxis was aware of the journalist's role in reporting on the JonBene Ramsey case and wanted to confess that he was the true killer.
This is Mike Tracy. Oh, hey, Michael.
We taped, I believe, 11 hours of conversation, all of which have been listened in on by various intelligence agencies. And that was a very, very dark experience.
So it's great to finally talk to you. Yes, I must admit I was a bit surprised when you sent the phone number.
After years of false alarms, this seemed like a real lead for Tracy and the Ramseys. Daxis was revealed to be John Mark Carr, an American expatriate living in Thailand. However, while Carr clearly displayed signs of attraction to children, he was ultimately ruled out as a suspect after failing DNA tests.
We found out that the DNA didn't match a couple of days later.
Insiders said he knew certain details about the brutal crime only the killer could know, but officials at the Denver Crime Lab say DNA proves he was not at the scene that dreadful December night.
And John Mark Carr was released.
What do you think of the JonBene Ramsey case? Let us know in the comments below.
So what details did he know that only the killer would know? Or was he overly infatuated with the case and wanted
that
to...
he just, yeah.
He tied himself so close to it. Because there are some... Because he looked a little sick. But I ain't going to hold you.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of sick people who take accountability for things that
they had nothing to do with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
for some odd reason. But...
Weird.
I wonder, like, what anything ever... Like, I know it's been since 1996. We're in 2024 now.
No. I already know the questions. No.
Because I said the only way is if someone, like, whoever truly did it, confessed, like, on some type of deathbed or something. Because we see that a lot as well.
So,
but other than that...
So there was DNA. I wonder, have y'all ever subpoenaed DNA from the parents?
I would hope so.
Because from the evidence we heard, I'm like, why would there be DNA? Because, you know, but also with the parents' DNA, their DNA is all over the house. The father picked up the child anyways, and
he picked up the child.
He took her upstairs and removed the duct tape. So if his DNA is on the,
I guess the only other DNA is from the thing that was made. Yeah. I mean, I guess you could take DNA, but multiple from people
could have touched that over time, and DNA could have still been on that.
I mean, but if you find someone else's DNA that's not in the house, then.
That's what I'm saying. It's a paintbrush. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could have been...
I don't know. I'm just trying to...
But I wonder what...
I just try not to, like, look at all possible...
Yeah.
Like, I try not to rule anyone out until they are, like, ruled out. Completely ruled out. But, yeah, but...
I feel you. But, hey, man, y'all spam us up in the comments. Y'all let us know y'all thoughts about it for us in the comment section down below. But, until next time, y'all know how it go, man. I do go by the name DJ New Kid. This is
Sierra Nicole.
We are.
Kid and C.
We are.
Peace.